Hello there. I am so glad that you are here tonight. You are listening to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. I am Kat Hobson, your host. As I, I think everybody on the planet knows that I am going to the Ozark UFO conference again this year. And I'm so excited because the talent at this conference is absolutely amazing. The people they're accessible. It's easy to get to have a conversation, bounce ideas off each other, get some of your theories discussed along with theirs. And it's so easy to learn. It's just absolutely, it's my favorite conference. And I tell people that all the time, and they're like, oh, but you go to all these, big glam, blah, blah. And I do. But this one is, it was the first one I went to as Fate. I'd been to the others as Paranormal Experience before I started doing Fate. And the opportunity that was allowed me the very first time I went was to meet my friend, Stanton Friedman, in person. My other friend, Chase Klotsky, was speaking for her first time there. So we got to hang out, and we had already met each other. But this conference is so accessible. Ideas are exchanged, friendships are made. It's like old home week when everybody starts coming in, and it's like closing camp when everybody leaves. It's my favorite conference. So I say all that to say that I have seen these gentlemen do their lectures before. Not the same one that's coming up, but they're so good, guys. They're so good. And their ideas are very creative, thinking outside the box. And you heard Dr. Melinda Greer a couple of weeks ago. She was on with me. They researched together. They worked together. So you're going to really enjoy this show, I think. So this is Ron C. Myers and Alan Megargle, and they're Bigfoot and paranormal researchers, and their stuff is good. So let's bring them on. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for having us on.
It was sketchy there for a minute, but here we are. So never say never.
Exactly.
I live by that. That and it's easier to get forgiveness than permission sometimes. Those are my two rules.
Absolutely.
So, well, when I did see your trailer, and I don't know what else you would call that, the video, and I love the Bigfoot stories. I live not far, and I drive through the Alabama Bigfoot capital, I guess you would say, of our state. And I didn't even know that's what it was. It's Evergreen, Alabama. And I got off with my grandsons, taking them to the beach one day, and there was a Bigfoot statue by the McDonald's and Wendy's and Zaxby's and everything that you pulled in. And they had a fit. We had to stop and take pictures. And one of my cousins lives there. And I said, have you ever seen Bigfoot? And she was like, oh, Lord, girl, everybody has seen Bigfoot. But me, I have not. I was like, okay, well, there you go. But Bigfoot is a really intense topic. And y'all are really finding a lot more intensity with your work. And I'm going to tell you, I do not go on Bigfoot investigations simply because I am from here and I do know they're there because I've heard them. but I don't go looking for. And I've actually seen one. A friend of mine used to do that, and he was walking out. Every time he'd walk out of the woods, he'd just leave a camera on his shoulder. And so I just happened to catch his live, and I was watching. And as he's walking out, what I thought was a rock or a stump or something um, got up from behind a bush and turned around and walked the other way.
Cool.
And it was had to be a juvenile. It was not big, and I wouldn't have wanted to run into a juvenile anyway. But it was just such a bizarre thing for me to see that, because that's not my jam. I'm a ghost hunter, a UFO researcher. So, but I think that I want you to tell us what y'all think about what Bigfoot is, how they, I would say manifest, because I think that they can. But what led y'all on the path that y'all are following? I'd much rather listen to y'all than me.
Are you talking about what was represented in the trailer, the book trailer?
Yes.
Well, it really started with Alan at a place in Colorado. And once he walked through the early stages, I'll tell you how I came to a conclusion about what the nature of Bigfoot is, which is very controversial right now. It's not very common, but I think for me and anyhow, it works quite well. And we've been gathering a lot of data points recently to sort of confirm that hypothesis. You want to begin, Alan?
So you're talking about the what happened last summer, basically?
Oh, what happened in Church Creek, how we got started, hearing the ARU and so on.
Yeah. So there's an area not too far from where we live that I've been to many different times, and I was asked to take some people up there that were friends of mine that have never been looking for Bigfoot. So we took them up there. We had some really interesting experiences. We were using our ghost hunting equipment, and we actually had something interacting with our REM pod way back in the woods very consistently, where you could ask it to come up and touch it and back off, and it was responding very appropriately. And we went up the following weekend to see if we could dig in a little bit more, and met another friend up there who was really interested in that. And at the beginning of that evening, right as it was getting dark, we heard these voices come from the woods that are very synonymous with Bigfoot. They call it a samurai chatter. It's a strange language of some sort of creature, and we heard that in the woods. So that prompted us to go back the following weekend after that, third weekend in a row, and we actually had a small group, 3 of us, and we camped out there, and we actually heard those voices again, and we captured just a little snippet on our video cameras, and we were able to actually pull that off and play it for people and try to analyze it a little bit. And it really turned into a whole thing. And then we went back many more times trying to get more data. And we did. Every time we went up there something happened. So pretty much all of last summer, we were constantly working this area, and it paid off in a big way.
So
that's pretty interesting.
So another aspect of this was something we developed called the CE6 protocol. And it really began when we were in Oklahoma with Melinda Greer, Dr. Greer. Mm-hmm. We had gathered around. We were on a resort on a lake. It's not a big resort. It's kind of a log cabins and not a massive resort, for tourists and so on. But we were sitting around the campfire, and for some bizarre reason, it occurred to me to do this weird chant that I had learned back a long time ago, and it's the basic vowels that form all language. And they are, do you know what chakras are?
Yes.
So they start with the lowest chakra, and you go A, E, I, O, U, and you end up with the head chakra. And as we were sitting around with Alan and our cameraman and Melinda Greer, something started happening with Alan already felt, and so did Melinda, that there was Bigfoot present. Isn't that right, Alan? You had a sense it was good?
Yeah, I mean, usually in these types of things, I'm not the one talking, I'm the one listening, and I'm not listening to what people are saying. I'm listening to everything that's happening around us. In this case, everyone was sort of focused on the conversation and on what we were doing, but I was paying attention to howls and footsteps and
Yes.
branches breaking and all the different things in the background. And it was pretty clear to me that there were some things closing in on us. They weren't right on us, but they were, within a football field or less from us.
So after we did the chant, Alan brought out his REM pod, his spirit box, and got some interactions. So you want to mention what happened there when we did those two, when that occurred?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was that we started to hear some voices from the spirit box. One of them sounded like it said my name. Then we had a little bit of activity on the REM pod, and then we captured what sounds like an EVP, not from the spirit box, of a voice saying something like it's freaking me out, or I'm freaking out, or something like that.
Yeah, it's freaking me out. It was a woman's voice, clear as day.
Yeah.
And that's what I was so interested in with the trailer, was that, y'all said that wasn't someone who was with you.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, that's so bizarre.
It was so clear compared to the spirit box, which is often kind of shaky, iffy, it can be. This was clear as bell. And so then the next night, well, maybe it was next night or the last night anyhow, we repeated it with the chant, but nothing happened. As we sat around, we had the equipment out, so we said, okay, well, nothing's going to happen. But then the most extraordinary thing happened. The little area where the fire pit is cut out of trees, deciduous trees that were leafy at that time. And Alan and Melinda Greer started walking towards the car. Cameraman walked towards the cabin. I'm the old guy, so I was kind of walking out last. And all of a sudden, I heard something crashing through the tops of the trees, not falling, but going horizontal to the ground, and then kind of curved to the left, following where Alan and Greer went. And that's all I remember. But then Alan and Melinda Greer, well, something happened quite extraordinarily then as a continuation.
Yeah, I heard it coming from behind me. And then we didn't have any flashlights because we had sat down before it got dark, so we weren't really prepared for it. So it was pitch black out. And then I heard it come down through the trees, and it was banging against the branches as it came down through, and it landed about 6 feet in front of me and shook the ground. And I was like, whoa, I almost got hit by a tree branch. Like, I thought, man, that could have been really, really bad for me. So at this point, the cameraman was up close to where we were, and he actually had a flashlight in his pocket, so he got that out, and he was shining it around, and there was no tree branch anywhere
or rock.
So then I started thinking, well, maybe it was like a rock and it came crashing through from like a Bigfoot or something, and we couldn't find a rock anywhere either. So we looked around for a while, and then we went back the next morning and spent quite a while looking around, and we never did find anything that we think could have been from that crashing down. So I have no idea what hit the ground right in front of me, but it was enough to shake you and scare the heck out of me.
And of course, the cameraman who had walked in the opposite direction said he felt the ground shake, and he thought I had fallen down or something, but I didn't. And so eventually, then probably 2 years later, wouldn't you say, Alan did what he just described. But when they played back tell them how you heard the AIOU with Kenny, that you heard the AIOU, and that blew your mind, because how in the heck would anything in Colorado know what we had done in Oklahoma?
Right. So for me, when we heard those voices, it was pretty clear match to Ron Moorhead's Sierra sounds that were recorded in California in the 70s. So my mind was kind of wrapped around, we heard Bigfoot voices. I've heard them before in Ohio. Wasn't foreign to me. But then one of our friends, Kenny, who was there, he said it sounded to me like it was saying A-E-I-O-U. And Kenny wasn't aware that we had been playing with this protocol, and I wasn't putting that together. So I had a freak out moment. I was like, I turned around really quick and I said, what did you just say? You don't know about that. So then we kind of listened to it some more, and yeah, I kind of hear it. I struggle to hear it, but I kind of hear it, and it was just really interesting that it was a tie-in to that, even though he didn't know it was.
So, you
That
know,
is
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say that that's not, I mean, because I was not familiar with that, but I do like how you say it because you're toning almost as you're going through those vowels. And because I watched that, and I can see where that would get things stirred up. I'm just, you know, so it is interesting that somebody else was doing it too.
Yeah, well, Bigfoot was doing it.
Yeah, not somebody, something else.
Well, yes.
Which leaves, you know, some sort of clue as to what in the heck is that. And I'd been pretty discouraged because I had done a number of programs on Bigfoot, you know, the Bigfoot Alien Connection Revealed, Chasing Bigfoot, had a lot of success, you know, on the streaming platforms. But I wasn't quite buying that this was a Bigfoot 20 feet tall throwing a big rock through the trees. But, you know, Alan, maybe at least it's easier for him to accept that.
Well, until you don't find a rock, then that theory goes
Until you
out
don't
the window.
Yes.
So anyhow, when they, by the way, Alan married my daughter, so that's, you know, one of the things that Bigfoot does is it brings people together in extraordinary ways. And she was all part of this investigation as well in Colorado. And so I said, well, I'm going to test this hypothesis, and it came to me that there's this hypothesis by a famous inventor and futurist, Jacques Vallée, the French guy.
Yes, I've interviewed him. He's awesome.
Yes, and so this is his theory that there's an ancient presence that's been guiding humanity since the beginning of language. And we're talking about a protocol, AIOU, which is how language began. That's informed language. People had to get together. That maybe I could test this hypothesis and see how Bigfoot would manifest if we created the intention to ask it to, the ancient presence, to manifest as Bigfoot for us. So I got together a group of people, including two sensitives, because I like to bring sensitives into the fold, the usual paranormal crew. I had a friend, a Russian guy who was a technologist, and he had never experienced anything, so I thought it would just be get a neutral mind in the action, and a cameraman. I think there were 9 people in all. So we went to this place, Church Creek, which is in the middle of nowhere in the Rocky Mountains National Forest. And we began, and I also added a simple mindfulness meditation at the beginning, where you close your eyes in the first case and become aware of sensations in your body. You know, it could be an itch, pressure, heat on your face, anything that you'd call a body sensation. And then we did the chant, and people, almost everybody, had the experience of some sort of effect on their body, some sort of energetic waves that kind of caused them to get excited. Even Alan did. I'm not even Alan, but he had his own experience. The Russian guy had his. He said he was moving. The sensitives were kind of overwhelmed. Do you want to describe yours a little bit, Alan? I'm sure it's a little different.
What I felt, you mean?
Yeah, what happened, after we finished the chant and people started talking about what they experienced?
Well, when we were doing it and you were talking us through it, it was the same kind of thing as in Oklahoma, except this time I heard a lot of these noises a lot closer because, we weren't too far from where we had recorded those voices, and that's where everything was coming from. And I just, felt there's a lot of energy, just a sort of a pulsing of energy, and just that feeling of not being alone, being watched. Just sort of the normal feelings I get when things are beginning to start happening.
So a couple of things happened on the recording. One was we recorded a rhythmic beat that out of nowhere, there's nobody around to make. It's like bum, bum, bum. Maybe Alan can just kind of repeat what that was and why it's not just a random tree knock or something.
Yeah, it was a rhythmic, kind of a rhythmic sound, of maybe what, 4 or 5 beats.
Yeah, it was 5 beats.
5 beats. And then when I heard the replay of it on our video, it reminded me of like what a great ape would do when they're mad. They do like a chest thumping, and that's what it really sounded like to me, was some sort of physical noise, either hand clapping or chest beating or something like that.
We just call them percussions, and we picked up a number of other ones that were percussive. Probably not tree breaks or wood knocks. They were just in the middle, coming out of nowhere. And then for me, because I'm filming all this, I'm the filmmaker and directing, so I'm usually kind of removed because I got to think what to do next. And as we were milling around while Alan was bringing out his equipment to add for the next one, because I wanted to get everybody right away into one mindset, one group mind, one uniform consciousness to invite this thing to come forth. It said my name as plain as day, Ron, off to the left.
Yeah.
Oh, and
we all heard it, and we were like, "Who said Ron?" And no one's like, "We didn't say it." Well, I heard it. It came right behind him. It sounded like.
And I stupidly said,
"Not me."
I stupidly said, "What?"
I mean,
did you get an answer?
No,
not that we heard.
Darn.
So, I mean, I would say that that's definite evidence that whatever is there knows who I am and knows what we're doing. Colonel John Alexander, who spoke at you know who he is?
I do. I know him.
He was at the conference, when we last spoke, and I did an in-depth interview with him. And he says whatever that presence is, which is the same thing that's at Skinwalker Ranch, maybe Bradshaw too, is precog. It knows what we're going to do. And it would have to in some ways, especially what happens at Skinwalker Ranch, how it defeats all their equipment. But if it's the same thing, it was not defeating us, it was helping us in lots of ways. It was a whole different sense.
We felt that way for a long time now, that it was helping us, not trying to hinder what we're doing.
For whatever reason. And it never really affected me negatively. No. But the next thing we did, we focused on sounds in the next meditation, and then did the chant again. And that's when we captured just a ton of Bigfoot chatter. Alan heard it, of course, as did other people. And we got it recorded. And when you see our movie or hear our talk, you'll hear it for sure. And then at one point, between the last and the last chant, it repeated back A-I-O-U for us.
It did not.
It did.
That is so cool. Oh my goodness. Were you just blown away?
Well, what the theory is that it's tantalizing us and keeping the mystery away. Like, what in the heck could do that? Again, it shows intentionality and awareness of us, right? It knows what we're doing.
And personality.
Yeah. So you heard the stuff in the background, right? When we were doing the meditation on sound, remember, Alan?
Oh yeah, for sure.
It was coming from down by the site we have is kind of an open field area, and then it runs to the south. There's a kind of a dry creek. It's called Church Creek. We call it the Church Creek site. And it has pretty thick vegetation because there's water from the creek. And that's where most of the activity went. So Alan took his SLS camera. Do you know what that is, Kate? The SLS camera? Do we need to explain it, or should we just go on?
A little bit, because not everybody is going to be familiar with this.
Okay, so Alan grabbed the Russian guy, because he likes Russian guys sometimes, and went down to the creek to see if he could pick anything up on the SLS. And he did. And you want to talk about it, Alan, or you just?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the SLS is an interesting device. I don't know what to think of it, but I pointed it, you know, I turned it on and pointed it to where we were hearing things and getting the sense that we were being watched from there, and it picked up a couple stick figures that looked like they were maybe just in front of the tree line, I would say. So yeah, it's just another, you know, piece of the puzzle. I don't think in and of itself it's enough to say one thing or another, but when you start combining with all the things that are happening, it gets to be an interesting piece of evidence.
Yeah,
Well,
Dimitri.
it is. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, you know, I'm a paranormal investigator, so I'm fascinated that you're using equipment that I use in your experiments and in searches. So I'm also fascinated that you're getting evidence with them, because that's not always easy to do. You know, it doesn't always happen. So I'm not one of those people that every time I go out, I think that I've got evidence of, you know, I don't always get interaction if there's not anything there. But it's so interesting to me that you're actually using stuff that is used in general paranormal investigations and you're getting results with it.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's just another way for us to experience whatever it is.
Mhm.
And it's difficult to do documentary films when you're talking about these kinds of things without having something to sort of help people understand that things are really happening.
Sure.
We're not just, it's just not me sitting in the woods being like, oh, I feel something here. There's more. I mean, there is that, but there is a lot
I've
more
been out with paranormal
to
investigators
it,
that do that all the time, so it's okay.
which is great. And people probably are having experiences,
They
but
are, yeah.
it's really hard to convince an audience that, you know,
Yeah,
things are
you need
genuine.
something to show.
Yeah.
And those are great tools to do that with.
Should we go on and say a few more things that happened, or?
Oh,
would you-
please do.
So I mean,
I
just to
love
wrap
this.
up.
I mean, just so you know.
Okay, just to wrap that up, Dmitry, the Russian guy who had gone down with Alan, we did a quick interview with him, and he said he felt like he was drunk. He could hardly stand up. What had happened had such a big impact on him. And then he kind of left the group and wandered off into the woods and had what's a classic near death, an experience where the self disappears,
Hmm.
and you're just one with what was there, in this case, the force. Have you heard about that kind of thing?
Yes.
And that was a big deal for him, and that's kind of how he occupied himself for the rest of the time. It was just so wonderful for him to lose the self, you know, and just be one with the woods or the forest, as he described it. He had never had that experience before. And a couple
That
other
was a
things.
gift.
Yes, it is. And the two psychics we had with us, two women, do a thing called toning, where they
Mhm.
would, you know what that is? It's a way
Well,
of
our listeners may
communicating.
not. Yeah.
I can't duplicate it, but they use their voice and call out like love, you know, and they do it really well. And at the same time, they were toning. Jesse, one of the paranormal team people, picked up on the what is it? The what's the device he has again, Alan? The camera, night vision. Is
Oh,
that
yeah,
what it is?
a night vision camera that has audio on it. Yeah.
He picked that up so we could match the toning, and we saw two possible examples of eye shine, one quite large and the other quite small,
Okay.
back in the wood line. One other thing that happened, which was fascinating, that we didn't know about until we got back in the studio, and that is there were like 17 less than a half a second subsonic or infrasound pulses, all the same, but distributed kind of randomly throughout the evening. We could, you know, we had the audio equipment records them, and then through processing, just like the night vision, it can show that they occurred, so we can hear a simulation of it.
Yeah, they sound like bangs. They weren't really bangs, but that's how the microphone picked up such low frequencies.
Wow.
And those things have a big impact subsonic on the human physiology. Sometimes negative, sometimes positive, often associated with the feeling of Bigfoot. And then one other thing happened is that the Bigfoot smell showed up. While Alan was down with the SLS, the rest of us were up at the meditation circle side. The smell showed up. It was the same smell that they heard when Anna, my daughter, and his wife, and Jesse recorded the clear Bigfoot chatter up on the trail, where they had the same smell. And then it showed up again in Sedona a week ago. Yeah. So that's kind of what happened at Church Creek. And then we took it to Mount Shasta, the whole protocol. And again, we were at Ascension Rock. And of course, that's one of the most sacred spiritual places on the planet. And we had a shaman and a sacred site guide and took us to this place. And whatever the presence is showed up as a raven call, when there shouldn't be any. So during the 9.5 minutes that we did the chant twice again, the protocol, it punctuated words, and it only showed up, I think it showed up like 29 times during the 9 times, and nothing before, nothing else. So there, and the raven is, in mythology, the gatekeeper between our world and the spirit world, if you want to keep it simple, or the other world, the non-physical world. So we're getting the idea that this presence can do all this. In other words, we relate it now to UAPs. If they can move things around without, that defy gravity and our physics, all the things we experience, it could do too. It would be relatively easy compared to moving an object as fast as they were doing it, when these Navy pilots recorded the event. So when you'll see all this in our PowerPoint when we talk at in Eureka Springs, and you'll be able to hear it and see it. And I think it'll be good for people.
Well, I think it'd be fascinating.
And then just last weekend, we went to Sedona to this massive conference with about 750 people. Are you familiar with it? Sedona.
I haven't been there. So I've been to Sedona, but I haven't been to that conference.
So it happened things happen for us, like a synchronicity. Chris Bloodsaw, have you heard of him?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He was supposed to be the main card to do a sky watch one of the evenings, and he bugged out. And through a contact we have, we were the replacement. And so I thought, well, okay, it'd be neat. We could maybe scale it up, see what happens if we have 30 or 40 people, what happens then? Yeah. Well, as we got closer to it, it was not like 30 or 40. It was going to be 200 people in a football stadium. So that changed things.
I bet. Go ahead. I want to know what came next. Because Chris Bledsoe gets activity.
We got activity too.
Yes.
So what we didn't know is that we had planned, we set up our cameras, and we thought we had control of the lights at the football stadium, but we didn't. They had them on when everybody came in. They all sat on the grass in the middle of the field. We thought some would be bringing chairs, some would be sitting in the bleachers, but they all sat on the grass, which was interesting.
Yes.
So I had to improvise. And when they turned the lights off, it was so dark, we couldn't see like 5 feet in front of us. Because it's a dark, dark sky city, Sedona is. And the moon was not up. So we did the chant multiple times. people saw vortexes in the sky, motherships. We got some pictures of those. A couple of people who interacted with each other found their soulmates through this process and went off and together. It was really sweet. People had these amazing experiences. Many of them had different ones, but there was one unifying experience, and that was the smell. The smell returned, and everybody in the group smelled it. I did. It's the same smell that we had picked up at Church Creek months before.
And it seemed to like snake through the crowd. It wasn't like we all just smelled it. There were different times over maybe a 30-minute period that it sort of moved throughout the crowd. It was very strange, and
Really?
people thought it was really unusual.
And that smell is very visceral and primitive in a way. It's my most primitive scent in some way. So we're just reviewing the footage now. Oh, at one point, when it was time to wrap up, Alan suggested that I take the chant to a higher, faster level and louder. And at some point, the group of 200 people decided they were going to form a huge circle. They stood up and created this circle and did the chant. It blew my mind that they would do that on their own. So it was kind of like the entity it became like an organism. And
That's cool.
Just recently, and you'll see this when we go to Eureka, that on the thermal, we got a thermal. I picked up 4 UAPs that showed up in a very short period of time, just like the rapid anti-gravity things that they recorded, going at extraordinary fast speeds. No contrail, nothing like that, but a hot central area, solid entity, body of something or other. Totally unexplainable what that could possibly be. So this is a little preview of what people will get into more in depth. And then we plan to offer the protocol to people who'd like to join us for one at a nearby location.
I'll have a car.
Huh?
So, I said, I'll have a car. I'm in. So,
Well,
that's great. I didn't know you were going to do that.
We didn't either. This thing just happened. Melinda's joining us, of course, because she was there at the beginning. So it's kind of like coming full circle.
She's precious too, and has had many experiences that really fascinated me in our conversation.
I see a question about if I have ever played any of my musical instruments for Bigfoot. I haven't done that a whole lot. I've tried that a little bit in the early days of doing this and didn't really have a whole lot of success. But I've heard other people have had a lot of success. But for me, as we talked about here, we take a lot of equipment with us, a lot of paranormal equipment and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of gave up on that whole thing, trying to lug more instruments and things around them. I love the idea, and I think it would probably do something in some way, but it's not something I do on the regular, mainly just logistically. It's a lot.
Did the tech guy say he was coming?
He is. He's going to be there because I'm going to be doing interviews after hours.
Well, have him bring an instrument. We'll take it and play it. How?
Yeah, we can play one of yours.
Yeah. Well, we'll just come and enjoy your experience, and he can bring that and I'll film him for a change. So
there you go.
Get him playing. But,
well, he said that he was building one to auction off at the conference, so maybe that can be the one that we use. That way it's a little more special.
That would be so awesome. But I'm going to tell you that Carl has, he's a paranormal investigator and very experienced, very good at it, as well as a woodsman and just the most creative thinker outside the box who comes up with great ideas. So it's always fun, A, to chat with him, and B, to learn from him. And so
Ronnie LeBlanc's going to be joining us too, of course.
Oh, cool. That'll be fun too.
We know him from being a Bigfooter?
I've done it very well. So this will be nice. I just, I'm so, I don't do or have not done like seeking interaction with Bigfoot. I just never have. But it's so interesting to me because I know a lot of people who do. Like I said, I live in Birmingham, Alabama, but outside of Birmingham, Alabama, when I was in high school, there's a road called Highway 280, which is now like a 6 to 8 lane road, and it's a byway coming in and everything else, but it goes across Double Oak Mountain. And Double Oak Mountain used to be nothing but woods, and you had to go over it to be taken out to dinner at a restaurant out there. And if you got out there, you were a really great date. So it was a compliment to go. But that area had a huge Bigfoot population that interacted with the Native Americans who lived there. And it was rural Alabama has always had a large Native American population. And one of my friends was married to red or black. He was Red Cherokee chief. But she grew up on that mountain, and she said that it was nothing, especially with her grandmother, to have them coming and interacting. They'd be coming through, they would have their trails that they would use and whatnot. And I thought that she was just putting me on, right? And then I started researching, and she was not. And not that she would have anyway, but I just thought she was yanking my chain. And so she is probably about 20 years older than me and has the best stories to share about that. And I lived up there as it was being developed. And when she was telling me those experiences, I was like, oh my word, they had to think that they were just being run out of town. I mean, because it really is so populated now.
Yeah.
But to the south and the east of that, there is nothing still. So I know where they went, but it's just so interesting to me because when she was talking about some of the things that you're mentioning, I'm just like, ooh, okay. It's cool to have other people talk about it too.
Yeah. So that's kind of a preview of what we'll be doing there. My hypothesis is the same as Jacques Vallée's, is that what Bigfoot is right now is that presence. It masquerades as Bigfoot. It masquerades as a raven. It can do anything like that. It can masquerade as a UAP. It has that capability, and it keeps the mystery alive. The analogy I use in the book, the book that's coming out with it, is that
I already have it. It was good.
Huh?
I already have it. It's good.
You do?
I do.
Wow.
I ordered it. So.
Way to go. Is that if you're living in a house and there's a lot of temperature changes outside and you don't know what a thermostat is, and you don't know that you're connected to a air conditioner and a furnace, you're probably totally can't figure out how the temperature stays so nice. And so the analogy is that we're living in let's just put it this way, the presence is the thermostat, and it modulates the mystery. If the mystery gets too weird, it settles things down. If people get too blind and stuck, it creates more mystery. And starting with, if you look at the beginning of language, what distinguishes humans from every other creature on this planet is the use of language. We're the only ones. Not to say that other animals and plants don't communicate, but no language. And we wouldn't be having any technology. We wouldn't be talking to each other without language. And it seemed to me, at Church Creek in particular, the presence was saying, look at language. It's really important. And we now have another example of of another alien entity called a large language model, the artificial intelligence. It's based totally on language, the relationship between words. And so there's a connection that's saying somehow or another we got to pay attention to that. And that's kind of our message. That's my summary. It's Bigfoot is this ancient presence masquerading as a Bigfoot in any way it can. Because if it can move these things at speed, UAPs at speeds that defy all known physics, it can doing a little chatter is going to be pretty easy for it. I don't know. You want to summarize yours, Alan? Where are you at right now on this?
I mean, I don't know where I'm at with all this, to be honest. I gave up trying to figure it out. I just I enjoy having the experiences. They're meaningful, and they seem to be guiding me in certain directions. And it just is what it is. I just let it be what it is. It seems to be really interested in what I'm doing, and I'm obviously really interested in it. So I think it's a good partnership in some weird way.
Yeah, we work together quite well in the sense that we feed off of each other as what to come next when we're doing an investigation. And that's really cool. I think it's sort of unique. And if you come with us, you'll see how that happens.
Well, I'm excited to be seeing that. You know, there's so many ways that with all of the anomalous topics that are out there that show up at the different conferences that we go to and things of that nature. When I was first talking with Ray Hernandez, I did not know that much about him. And I know that you interact with him too.
Yeah,
and,
Ray put us in touch with Melinda.
Yes. And, I think that that's one of the best parts, because he is, with his, greater realities, with all of the work that he does and his friends and associates do, there's so much out there. There's so much connectivity in ways that we don't really know, without being in a position to educate ourselves and realize what's actually happening. And I think that that's one of the things that I like about your work, is that you are taking some of that mindset into what you're doing. You're using ways that people generally don't to research Bigfoot. And, I've talked to people that did the Olympic project, is it, up in Washington State?
Yeah.
And
sure.
Yeah.
And other things, a young woman that was doing that. And I was just like, I don't know. How do you feel when you're out there? Because she was out there by herself. And her husband made a big thing to put on top of her truck to be, secure sleeping or whatever. But and she was so drawn and interacted so much that she didn't feel threatened at all. And I found that amazing, but because of the connectivity and interactions that she had, it wasn't something that terrified her. I myself might have been terrified to be out there like that alone. But I don't think alone in the woods is ever a good idea. But I mean, well, I'm not a woods woman. But it's
You're not?
just so well. No.
Okay.
But not that I don't love it. A lot of my friends used to. We have a place here called Lake Purdy, which is in that area that I mentioned where my friend had grown up with interacting, and we used to go there and camp out. I camped out twice. It's the only times I've ever slept on the ground, and it was just like, oh my goodness. My grandma used to laugh and say that our idea of camping out, of roughing it, was, the lobby of the Holiday Inn. And that might be true. But it's just kind of, there's so much to learn. And I wanted to ask you, because I have heard from different researchers that, are you familiar with the triangle here in Alabama? Or not the meadow. It's an area of pretty high strangeness. And oh my goodness, Trey Hudson is the gentleman's name that is the researcher that has come across this and some of their experiences and had an interaction with a craft. And it was very, lots of experiences with that. And it's, I think that he has put out, I don't know if he's put that documentary out or not, but it'll be called the Meadow Project, I think. But it is a lot of high strangeness in an area where I know that there's a lot of Bigfoot activity. And so when I saw you talking about how the two appear to be connected, then I was like, oh, I have got to call Trey. And I think you would really enjoy a conversation with him and maybe coming to his area to do some of the experiments that you're doing. And I would love your permission to put you in touch with him.
Yeah, I've heard of Trey, but never met him or talked to him. Yeah, that would be of interest to us for sure.
So Alan comes to Alabama. He does work there.
Huh?
Alan comes to Alabama quite frequently.
Oh, you told me. Yes. And I had asked what you came to Alabama for in your work.
Oh, I'm down in Huntsville for some defense contractor work.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of really great ufologists there. So the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies is a group that if you haven't already, you should connect with. I'm a member of that.
Okay.
So it's a lot of people that are way smarter than the average bear. Y'all would love them. But have you already hooked up with some of them since you're coming so often?
No.
Well, it's you probably like it. They're really rocket scientists, and probably your mindset leans that way too. So,
yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
But I just think that have you read Trey's book?
No.
On the Meadow Project? But it's I think that would be a good mix between y'all.
Sounds like it.
Because
yeah.
But that place, that meadow has some serious high strangeness. But well, when you were talking about being in Sedona with Chris Bledsoe, I invited him to come.
So we were not, excuse me, we replaced him. He bugged out.
Oh, you replaced him. Okay. I misunderstood.
Yeah, so he was supposed to do the Sky Watch. And for some reason he just bugged out and they were in a panic, and so we replaced him. How's that for?
Sounds like a good thing.
Yeah.
Because I know that he's going to be at Contact in the Desert and was talking about some of the stuff, but that's a hard place to do a sky watch because it's not dark.
Oh.
Although I did see my first Starlink there. But
have you seen our movie on Bradshaw Ranch?
I have not yet. I was trying to make notes for this show and doing all the stuff, but I wanted to talk to you about Bradshaw Ranch. Do you have time?
We have a little bit of time.
Because I know you sounded like you were wrapping up. This is a 2-hour show, so I'm going to be talking a little bit more after you leave, unless you want to stay. You're welcome to do whatever you want to do. But how did you get involved with that project?
Bradshaw Ranch?
Uh-huh.
By, some synchronicities.
I love synchronicities.
We were looking for a place to conclude a movie, and I was looking at my news feed, in the morning, and the first thing was the vortexes of Sedona, because Bradshaw Ranch is just like 15 miles from Sedona, the city of
I
Sedona,
didn't know that.
as the crow flies. And then I started saying, well, okay, I'll contact some people, see if there's something weird we could possibly film. And one of the psychics I talked to gave me the name of a woman, CJ, and he said she's from Colorado. Give her a call. I called her. She says, "Yeah, I went to this place called Bradshaw Ranch, and we had to climb under a fence." And said this weird stuff goes on there. And we quickly learned that Bradshaw Ranch was like the next Skinwalker Ranch. We've done investigations at Skinwalker too. And so over the period of a year, we made 2 major trips there, did a lot of filming, got a lot of cool stuff. Alan had his sighting of a Bigfoot. I interacted with an alien entity and poked a laser at its foot and it kicked it. And so and then we went back to it. What was it? It'd be a week ago yesterday, right? Saturday. We went back to it
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. A week ago. Were we just there last week?
Oh, maybe it was.
Ah,
Yeah.
Time flies.
We had some time slip there.
yeah.
That
So
happens.
it's a marvelous place. My feeling there is that I feel really good and happy. We took a bunch of people from the conference, and they were all kind of terrified going there at night. But that's when the good stuff happens.
It is.
So Alan had a bunch of experiences, and I just sat around and felt good with the last member of our group who had high heels and she couldn't walk around too much. So we just
bummer. What kind of experiences did you have, Alan?
So me and a small group, a couple of us, we stayed behind for quite a while. We were out there until maybe 11 o'clock at night. And we were doing a spirit box session near an area where I had been zapped, I guess, 3 years ago when I was there. Some sort of energy kind of hit the top of my head and made me pretty sick for about a day and a half. And I was sort of painting the woods with my flashlight, showing our group, this is about where I was up on this hillside up over here when that happened. And then I turned my light off and there was a pulse of white light that came back just over the top of the trees that flashed back. So we did a spirit box session there, and my buddy Jesse did a Bigfoot call, and we had a Bigfoot call response almost immediately, but it came through the spirit box.
Wow.
And I've never experienced that before. And we were filming, so I haven't had a chance to pull the footage and look at it yet, but because we were just there a week ago, right, Ron?
That's right. We were just on an airplane a week ago right now.
That's right. But it was pretty mind-blowing, yeah, to have something like that happen.
That sounds
Yeah, and then we
eerie.
had we were in one of the buildings and there was something messing with us. It was first scratched on the walls, and then something was up on the roof, and we could see there was a little hole in the roof. We had a thermal camera and we were looking up at the roof from inside, and there was a heat signature on top of the roof looking down through this little hole. And when we have on video where you look up at it and then it moved away from the hole, you could see the heat signature move away. And then we heard it banging around on the roof and we ran outside and we couldn't see anything. At some point it jumped into the tree that's right next to the house, and again it's right there and you just can't see it. It's not on the thermal. I can't see it with any lights or anything. So I don't know what it was. It could have been an animal of some sort, but it was exciting, whatever it was.
Well, that would be exciting. It's cool when we get interaction with things, and especially when they're interested in you.
Yeah, I actually have something staring at us or peeking at us.
So whatever it is,
Usually
it's
that's
one
good.
of us.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ron, I stepped on you. What'd you say?
I said, so whatever it is, it's very aware of us. We've known that for a long time.
Yeah.
And probably in some sense it's guiding us to do what we're doing as filmmakers and bringing the protocol to people.
Well, it's I don't think I asked, how did you develop your protocol?
Well, it happened by accident. I described it when I was with Greer and that thing crashed through the trees when we were in Oklahoma. It just came to me to do this primitive chant that I had learned from my enlightenment teacher. I don't know why I wanted to do it. I'd never done it before. That's the way things happened for me. And then stuff started happening. And from there, it just kept building and building. And I added the meditation component because I think it helps unify the mind. And then when the chant is done, it's done as like one entity. So it was pretty simple. It just comes along in some ways. And then whatever happens after that is pretty much determined by what happens when it responds to and we ask it to interact with us.
Well,
it's an exchange. Unpredictable. It's a mystery, as I said.
For sure.
Well, I'm sure they think that we're weird and unpredictable, because we are. But I think that had to be it was interesting that you had that sound crashing down at you, but it had to be so trippy, especially when you couldn't find anything that had fallen. I mean, because you looked that night and then you looked the next day.
Anything barring a tree branch was going to be unusual and unexplainable, but the fact that we found nothing made it even took up the unusual level even higher. So it was really confusing, but it didn't take us long to figure out that there's nothing here. I think I kept looking and refusing to give up that there wasn't something there, but I knew in my head that there wasn't anything there.
And what could actually like levitate through the tops of trees without dropping right away? If it were a rock or a branch or something, it would start falling. But from my perspective, it just went horizontal and went around to where they were and then decided to drop. It was like control.
And significantly dropped. I mean,
yeah,
for sure.
Because it had, when I was seeing and reading this, I'm just like, oh my gosh, that had to be so alarming for one thing, because it sounded so big and was creating such a force that for there to be nothing would be definitely a weird sensation the next morning. I mean, I can't even fathom that.
You felt a little uneasy after that, but my cabin was far away, so I wasn't concerned.
Yeah,
that's what he was saying.
I had to sleep 50 feet from there.
Yeah,
but I did hear that night we heard some scratching on the cabin, and it sounded like some wood knocks that were fairly close that night, if I remember.
Yeah, I know.
It was weird.
Something fell down, you got kind of freaked out about it. I don't know.
Yeah, a little too close there.
Well, that would be freaky. I mean, because they can throw big, heavy things if they so choose. And I think that a lot of it is manifesting the motion and stuff, because apparently they are high strangeness. Their abilities appear to be just vast and varied and powerful. So
yeah, we get surprised often, just going in with the mindset of having something happen and something completely opposite happens. It's always catches us by surprise, but it's always good surprises.
Well, those are. And
even in this case, it didn't hit me, so
it didn't hit you.
Hey, that was cool.
That's I have been paranormal investigating and had things. I had cell doors in an old jail banging, and I was doing a live show. People were hearing it on the air, and nothing's moving. Nothing is moving. These great big cast iron doors, and I was just like, "Oh, come on!" and then they started messing with my computer, and I was not live on the air for a bit after that.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, energy. But it was just kind of a education for me, because I did see them move things. You know, they didn't in that instance, those big cast iron doors, they weren't steel, they were cast iron. They were slamming to beat the band.
Hmm.
And there was shuffling and noise and talking and stuff, and I couldn't hear it, but my producer could. And I was just like, am I okay? He said, I'll tell you when you need to go. And I'm like, okay, make sure you do.
Right.
But yeah, that was a that was my strangest experience, because about 3 or 4 minutes later, he said, okay, you need to leave that area and take your computer with you. And I'm like, okay. He said, no, really, you need to pick up that computer and leave that area.
Hmm.
And I said, I'm out. I went to the kitchen. But and the owner of that jail had a portal, the voice portal.
Sure.
And it was speaking at me and about me. And that was an education, because I just finally, my dander got up, and I said, I'm here to help you, right? And we were doing a show just to raise awareness of the jail and stuff. And now it's famous. It's the old Paulding jail in Paulding, Ohio. If you haven't been there, you should go investigate. But yeah. And I said, I am not here for my help. I came to help Shelly do this, that, and the other. I have to drive 9 hours tomorrow, and I do not appreciate this. I was just going off. I was so mad. And they messed with my computer. So, and a voice came through the portal. I said, really? And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm not here for my help. I was really mad. But it was a very weird experience, because that was the first time that I had seen anything happen like that, where there was a physical threat, but the noises I was hearing weren't being generated by anything I saw moving, and they were slamming. So it was very strange.
Yeah.
And I think that to be in the woods and have something coming at me would be very disconcerting. Not even necessarily something being thrown at me, but I was doing a home investigation, and we were outside, and there was stuff moving around us outside. And I found that to be very disconcerting, because I didn't have any way, there wasn't a defense. You do not have a defense other than communication that you can create to maybe get them to understand. Because I'm not here to be ugly. I'm not here to be, an enemy. I'm just here at the homeowner or the property owner's invitation, kind of a thing. And I don't think that would work with a Bigfoot. I don't know. I've never, to my knowledge, come across one. I've smelled one, and I've seen one on my friend's video as he was walking out of the woods. And I'm so glad I wasn't there.
Perhaps in 2 weeks you will.
I'm hoping.
So is this going to air before the conference?
Well, we're live now.
Oh, we are.
And we are.
So should we end with inviting people to come to the conference, as inviting them to come, don't you think?
I think, I mean, they know I'm going to be there, and they know y'all are going to be there, and now they know who y'all are, if they didn't before. And it's really,
the more the merrier, I think.
Absolutely. Can I ask you a question?
Which one?
You.
Sure.
I mean, like, I'm not already asking questions, but you are you are very analytical and very, if I didn't know better, I would say kind of dry as far as, you know, your research, and you have your methods and you have protocols and you do this and you do that. Like a, not dry, but kind of very well focused what you want to achieve and how you think that might work, and you go about things that way. From my take, I may be completely wrong, but I
You
think
saying I'm
it's
boring?
refreshing. No, I'm not at all. Not at all. I'm married to somebody like that, so I like that. But it's really it's refreshing because what you're doing that with is such an anomalous topic, and you're bringing really good protocols and really good sound logic into your methodology of researching something that's not really proven yet, although
Well,
experiencers would argue that.
is there a question?
Yes. How on earth did you evolve into this type of study?
Well, I had a long tradition of being involved in meditation and searching for the truth, whether in science or, let's say mystical experiences. I looked into Buddhism and Hinduism, all these Eastern religions.
Mhm.
So, but I've also, peer-reviewed scientist in behavioral cybernetics and paleontology. So I have a certain amount of rigor that I bring to things in terms of the way I approach them. But, basically I'm a filmmaker, and I've done, feature films for kids, educational product, directed Hollywood stars. So run a multi-million-dollar business, distribution and production company. So, one has to be somewhat grounded to do all that crap.
Mhm.
But and in some sense, what the way Ray Hernandez talks is that he wants an umbrella for all these phenomena. He wants to bring them all
Yeah.
together because he thinks that's the only way we'll really come to understand them and what's going on and what's important. And so I kind of adopted that point of view, and it really came about because of the guy on the other screen that he introduced me to the possibility that Bigfoot itself and how it shows up is a kind of experience that belongs under that umbrella. I think Ray adopts that now himself, and certainly Melinda Greer does because she's part of
Yes.
a group that's looking into these experiencers. So I fall in the category of an experiencer, and so does Alan, and yeah, I guess you do too. So we're all part of that, and we bring our own perspective to it. If they were all like me, maybe that wouldn't be good because he's different than I am. He's much more of a sensitive. I don't mean like because he's kind to people, he might be, but he feels things in ways I don't.
Yes.
But I have my own way of these things emerge like the protocol just out of the blue for me. I have these kinds of synchronicities that show up, which is a slightly different hit on the paranormal because they all go together. And we need all of us doing our own way of approaching these things because everybody has blinders through their approach.
Yes.
Not just me, but probably you and maybe Alan. Not he's just perfect.
Well,
Is that good?
or he wouldn't have been allowed to marry your daughter, right?
Yeah, it's been a good thing.
Yeah.
She's probably even a little more sensitive than you are, wouldn't you say, in this realm?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's a filmmaker as well. We're all filmmakers. That's another thing that unites us. So can I tell Alan something? I'm going to have Paul, my editor, put together a little video piece on these UAPs I recorded on the thermal, and we'll Dropbox them to you, and we'll conclude the PowerPoint with them.
Yep.
And I'll tell Dan, huh?
Sounds good.
And I'll tell Nancy to change the title to the High Strangeness of Bigfoot and UAPs, and that way we can get UAPs into the storyline. Kind of started with it and ends with it then.
Makes sense.
That's going to
This
be
is how we
such a
work
great
together.
presentation.
Huh?
It's going to be such a great presentation.
I
I'm
hope
really
so.
looking forward to it.
No booing on
And
your
y'all were
part.
great before.
Mm.
So,
Well,
y'all
it'll
are
be good
some
to
of the
see.
people that I use as examples about the conference.
Cool. So, what's your relationship to the conference? Are you part of it in some official way, or are you just somebody that's helping
I'm
out?
media for it.
Okay. You know Nancy?
And I do.
Yeah. That's who we deal
So-
with.
Well, Bonnie's who I deal with primarily.
Who?
Bonnie,
I don't think we know Bonnie, do we?
no, Holly, brain poot. Sorry, but it is Holly. So,
Okay.
but Nancy is pretty cool. Do you know Phyllis Galdi, the woman that owns Fate magazine?
I do not.
I don't think so.
But she has been friends. She was friends with Dolores, and she is Rosemary Golly was her best friend, and she's been involved in researching, you know, all kinds of things. She has had some of the best experiences.
Is she going to
And
be there?
no, she's not. She had a health crisis, and she is still rehabbing and doing great. She actually is doing fantastic. But
You know,
she
we
is not going to be there. She sends me to go do things now.
we did interviews with Rosemary and Stan, probably their last ones. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I interviewed Stanton the Wednesday or Sunday. I do shows on Wednesday and Sunday. I think it was Sunday. And because when he called me in, he was going to a conference, and that must have been Wednesday. He was going to a conference, and he hadn't been feeling well. He had had a doctor's appointment. And he was like, well, yeah, can I just do an hour? And I was like, you can do whatever you want to, my friend. I don't care. I'm just glad you're here. And so we talked, and he decided that he didn't really want to go, but I'd already lined somebody else up for that second hour. And I was like, well, you can stay and talk too, you know. And he was like, no, I'm going to go ahead. And so I got a call that weekend that he had passed away on his way home. So
Oh,
that was a, and he really was a friend. He was a sit down and chat together when you see each other kind of friend. And that was the first time I ever got him on the show. I called him, and he called me back, and I answered on my watch, and I panicked. I was like, I'm going to have to call you back. And so, you know, and he was like, well, I don't know what to, I said, I'm Dick Tracying you. I'm going to have to call you back, but I'll call you right back. And so I found my phone, and I called him back. He's like, what is this Dick Tracying you're talking about? And I said, my watch, Stanton. I was talking to you on my watch. I just couldn't, you know, I'm so sorry. And he just started laughing, and he was like, so you want me to come on your show? I was like, if you don't mind. And he was like, I think I'll do that. And I was like, thank
he
you.
was a good guy. We enjoyed.
He was a great
hanging out with
guy.
him.
Yeah.
So I think I thought this was just an hour or so.
That's all right. I'm just
I
glad
got
you're here. Thank you.
Okay, good. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks, I guess.
10 days.
All right.
I'm counting them down. I only know
Okay.
that because I checked something on my Delta app.
Okay.
It was like 2 days. But thank you so much. And you know what? I am looking forward to this presentation. And what night are you going to do the adventure?
The protocol, we don't know yet, Friday or Saturday. We haven't made up our mind yet.
All right. Well, I will make sure that I've got the appropriate shoes to go out and wander.
Okay.
So, because I look forward to it. Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye. And with that, I am still here, and I'm going to turn this around because I am using my iPad. Uh-oh. Okay. Now, so I had such a good time with that conversation. And if y'all have not had a chance to read the book, Carl, we've got that book cover in our, let's see, I'm just not going to do that right now. But it is going to be such a great lecture. And to be able to go out and actually follow their protocol, if you can go and look at the video, excuse me, the video, which I'm going to have a picture of here just in a minute, um, you just won't even believe that these people are able to accomplish what they're doing. It's fun. There you go. That is the Bigfoot alien. I think that is a show. I put the wrong graphic up. There you go. The High Strangeness of Bigfoot. And as he said, they're going to put and UAP on the end of that because this protocol is something that apparently is getting so much response. They were talking about doing that in Sedona. And I have done a night sky tour in Sedona. And of course, it was a full moon night, but that was the only night we were there. And before sunup, before sundown, before the moon came up, um, stars were already coming out and you could see them. You could see things moving in the sky. And I just think that that place is so amazing. I actually got my chakras aligned there for the first time. What a place to do it, right? But it was so much fun because the woman took us through some of the she had somebody else that had booked with her. I was only there for that day. And she reached out to the original woman who said, yeah, tell her to come. We'll do, we'll have a good time. So I got to go and do these things. And I got to have a chakra alignment on at one of the vortexes, on one of the vortexes. And that was something that I wasn't real sure what I thought about that, if I trusted that that was a real thing or not. And it is. So I was still having a little bit of um, newbie reaction to some of the more spiritual things because I had not really been exposed to that where I am. So to get to have that experience was pretty cool. I actually love what I do because I get to go and find these places and do these things. And I think that that's pretty cool. I'm very blessed. So I just don't even know what all to tell you because I know I've been talking y'all's ears off about this conference. It is such a great place to be. And I I'm excited because now he has said that they are doing the protocol during the conference. I didn't know that. So I'm gonna do it. And it's probably gonna turn off freezing, maybe not, but we just never know. The very first time I went, it was 70 degrees in the afternoon. And it was maybe, no, the morning. And then it was maybe 30 by the time that we got out of the sessions and break for dinner. And poor little Mark D'Antonio had sleeves and maybe a suit jacket. But it was not a good thing to be him. And I actually went into town and bought the ugliest sweater I've ever seen in my entire life. But it was just, oh my goodness, it was hilarious because it was cold. But Mark D'Antonio is going to be there. So he's one of the keynote speakers with Steve Bassett. And y'all may remember Stephen Bassett. He was the gentleman who, he is a actual lobbyist on UAP in Washington, D.C. And when he was coming on with me, he had lost track of time. He was calling in on his cell phone. He just ducked into a coffee shop off DuPont Circle and called in. And that was one of the best conversations ever with somebody who I could only see corners of his face. And he was so amazing. And so that was actually the start of a good conversation set. He's a really nice man. And so he is one of those people that you just don't really know what you're going to get with him. And I know I'm going to break all kinds of protocol and I'm going to read you something. But he is one of the most recognized political activists in the world, pressing for formal disclosure and of an extraterrestrial presence engaging the human race. And he's the founder and executive director of the Paradigm Research Group, PRG. He has spent decades working to end the government imposed truth embargo surrounding the UAP ET reality. Bassett has organized multiple disclosure press conferences at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., briefing journalists, researchers, and political leaders on evidence of its extraterrestrial presence. And it's actually helped move UAP ET disclosure from the fringe into the mainstream media. So that's pretty good. It's one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to him, and one of the reasons that I have so much respect for him, and I do, is that when I was at Contact in the Desert time before last, I have a lot of friends who are authors who are relatively new to the game, but have been experiencers and researchers for a lot of years. And they're putting books out, they're putting information out. And Steve went to them. And I heard more than one conversation because it's a small room, right? And he's like, I'm going to put you in touch with my publicist. I'm going to get you out. We're going to get your book out. We're going to get you out. We want you talking about this stuff because it's real and it's true. And, the information needs to be out there. And I mean, I was just a fly on the wall, right? Waiting on my friends to finish what they were doing. And I had so much respect for this man because, yes, he wants this to happen, but also he wants to bring other people along with him. And a publicist is hard to get if you're new in a field. And he helped them get publicity to get their information out and get their books out. I just think anybody that's willing to help someone else like that is special. A lot of times, people that already have their place in the sun seem to be afraid of shade, and he's not one of them. So I think that's pretty amazing. But he, along with Mark D'Antonio, are the keynote speakers, and Mark is pretty amazing too. He is, you've probably seen him on all these shows. He's one of the most known people out there as well. And it's it's just it's just one of the things that his topic is going to be from here to there, the search for extraterrestrial life. And Mark is one of those people who also likes to learn. He's a genius. He is he's just a genius. And he is really great at sharing his information with people, helping people to understand and know all kinds of stuff. He does a show, Sky Tour live stream. He has two planetarium kind of telescopes, and he just he does YouTube, and he shares that all the time. When the comet was coming through, he kept he he was constantly on there on YouTube, and it's fun. He is so smart and so funny, and just really wanting to make sure that people understand stuff. Um, and he wants to educate. If you have questions, he wants you to ask. And I think that's something that's pretty special. And so the keynote speakers for this are both excellent. I think that I think that the whole thing is going to be excellent because you know you heard me with Sam Chong, you heard me with Melinda Greer. Oh, and Deborah Cobble is coming on too. So she will be here Wednesday, I believe. And I just I'm going to be and Forrest. We interviewed Forrest too. So I hope you've enjoyed all of those because like I said, this is my favorite conference. And I have been to almost all of them. This is a big conference. I mean, I've been to the big conferences. This is not that big. It's let's see, is this the 35th? 38th, 38th conference of this um 38th Ozark Mountain UFO conference. And it was created by Lee Farish, and I think that that's something that people sometimes forget. And Nick Pope was supposed to be here, and he is ill. He has cancer, and he is not able to come. And I was very sad about that because I just love him. I think he's one of the best people doing what he does. And I just think, I hope that he and his bride are just loving each other and enjoying their time together because special folks. And so he was going to be speaking, and that's where Mark is the keynote speaker now. Um, Somebody that I haven't spoken with, and I really think that this is going to be one of my favorite lectures because it's going to be about something I'm not that familiar with yet. But it's Ronnie LeBlanc, and it's interdimensionalism, inter- interdimensional consciousness, cryptids, and the hidden architecture of reality. So those topics are so interesting. I'm so looking forward to getting to listen to this. And I just haven't been able to get in touch with him, but maybe after the conference we'll be able to have him on and learn more. Y'all can learn too. But if you can get to the conference, they is so good. This is the best one that I know of. And it's just because it's up close and personal. I say it all the time, but I last year, and Lori Dorsey, who is my best friend, and we travel together, and she comes to these things sometimes and helps me with getting organized. And because before I found out I had ADHD, I was not very organized. Now I have help with that, building skill sets. But I just love that you can just you can just go and you can hear all these people. And sometimes they're, you know, big television people, and usually they're not big television people. It's just so much fun to get to interact. Um, you heard Ron mention um, John Alexander. John Alexander is a big time military guy, and he is so fantastic. He's just funny, but you wouldn't know it until he started talking, right? So it's fun. And when I first met him, I had just been researching the Men in Black phenomenon. And he told me a Man in Black story. And so I was just like, oh my goodness, that is the coolest thing ever. So we started talking about the different writers that I had been reading relevant to the topic and stuff. And it was just neat, And so then I go to the um, SCU, Scientific Coalition on UAP Studies conference, and there's John Alexander. And that was fun because he's just a nice man and very informative. And one of the things I've learned is that if there's a topic that you're not really sure about or something that interests you, but you don't know how to go about researching it really, you don't know a good source or something of that nature, at this conference, the the talent is right there where you are. It's a big room, everybody's sitting in there listening to the speakers. And it's just brilliant. It's a brilliant setup to be able to have questions. I mean, don't monopolize, just conversation. And everybody's pretty much eating breakfast in the hotel restaurant, or dinner. I go down into Eureka Springs, but it's just nice to be able to interact with other experiencers or people that are just curious and want to be there to learn about this stuff. And we're 10 days out. I'm so excited about that because hopefully I'm going to be able to do some Facebook Lives from there and just kind of keep people up to date on what's going on. And hi, Noreen. And thank you for being here. I appreciate that. And I'm on my iPad because there was a glitch with my laptop connecting. But I would, oh my gosh, thank you for talking to Anthony. So, Anthony Peake, she's friends with Anthony Peake, who is one of the nicest men that I met at Contact in the Desert when he was speaking there. And he gave me his card and told me that, I just enjoyed this and everything else. And so when she was in my chat, when I was talking about Contact, she knew him. So she told him that, you know, that I had said those things. So thank you for that. But yeah, well, she said Anthony looks forward to being a speaker and because he loves it. And that's because he's good at it. We always like to do what we're good at, right? I think so. And Noreen, thank you so much for letting him know I said hello. But see, that's another example. This is a great big world, right? And so there's just things work out, synchronicities. The world is full of synchronicities. And I think that's cool too. So if you have someone that you would like for me to interview, reach out to me. I'm on Facebook. You can go to Fate Magazine Radio or Fate Magazine Radio Live or Catherine Hobson and message me, find me on Facebook. And, if you want to come on and talk about something, then, if you have some work that you're doing, I would love to talk to you. I have no problem at all with bringing people forward. I think that if we don't do that, then we get stuck in kind of a rut sometimes. Th- It's not a it's not a rut in a bad way, but sometimes it just is. Yeah, there's so many ideas out there, so many fun things. I have a friend who is a witch and she is an author. And, she wrote an article for Fate magazine and submitted it. And so when she came on with me, we got to know each other and I invited her on. And she was talking about um, her article that she had written for Fate magazine. And she said, and, I just never heard back. I guess it didn't get published and whatever. So I was talking to Phyllis, who owns the magazine, later. And I was like, oh, I interviewed somebody who had submitted an article. And it was Johnny Appleseed was a time traveler or an abductee. But anyway, it was a different take on the Johnny Appleseed story. And Phyllis said, I did publish that. And I was like, did you? And so she knew, because she's Phyllis, she knew exactly what edition it was in. And she got 2 copies sent to my friend Cheryl, who now has 2 copies of her debut article that was in Fate magazine. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, too. Synchronicities make the world go round, and it's fun to see them when they happen. But, that kind of, it's not really camaraderie, but it's relationships, just the relationships that you can build through these conferences, through just knowing. And I, that's exactly it, Noreen. She says it's great to chat and listen to other people. It gives different perspectives and ideas, and that's how we grow. Yeah, and that's why the shows and conferences like Contact are so good. And that's exactly right. And Contact is probably, Alien Con may be bigger now, but they do a lot of them. But Contact in the Desert is a once a year thing, and it used to be held in Joshua Tree, snakes and scorpions included, right? And in fact, Tracy Dolan, Richard Dolan's wife, was there my first year, and I was in open toed sandals. And she was like, isn't this great? I was like, I love this location. She said, yeah, and you get to wear open toed shoes too. No snakes or scorpions. And I was like, I do not do snakes or scorpions. So I was really glad that they changed that venue too. But, it's and that's another thing, you know, when you go to these and you talk to people and you become friends with people that you might not have ever come across anywhere else. And it's fun. And they're generally open minded, lots of fun. Or they are open minded, or they probably wouldn't be there, right? But it's just a cool thing. If you can ever get to one of these, you don't have to go to the great big ones. I mean, the talent is, Ancient Aliens obviously is the Ancient Aliens guys, plus other people. But I went to their very first one, and I will never forget how nice the guy that created that show was to me. Um, yeah, because I was only doing paranormal experience at the time, and I submitted an application for media, and they approved me. So it was Santa Clarita, right outside San Francisco, or a bedroom community for San Francisco, and it was it was crazy because they expected about 3,000 people. They got right about 9,000 people. and it was a small venue. So they were shifting and shoving and doing and making it work. And I sat down with Kevin for a few minutes and we were just chit chatting. And he's like, "Well, how did you come to be here?" I said, "You let me come." I just submitted you know, request and you said I could come. And he just laughed. And, he's passed away now, but he was the nicest man, the nicest man. And Susan Silverstein, I believe her name is, was his assistant. And she was like, "You are so nice." I said, "Well, I'm just thrilled. I'm thrilled to be here because all of my listeners, and I had a lot at that time, but before I got deplatformed, I'm trying to build it back up now. But it was so funny because it was just crazy. So many people wanted to be there. They finally had to move the lectures out to the consent vendor area because people couldn't hear, couldn't listen. So they just took over the vendor area because it was a great big open room, which was not great for acoustics, but fortunately there was enough stuff in there that it helped. But and that event has just been growing and growing. The second one was Travis Taylor's first time there. And he's I know people pick on him about his rockets, but he's really one of the smartest people in any room that he goes to. And a lot of them, he may be the smartest person. But I think that he is doing a good thing. I offended him once, and I really hate that I did that because I didn't mean to. But it's so funny because we run into each other at events, and he's always really gracious, and I am too. So it's really cool to be able to have these opportunities to just interact and to learn and to spend time. And it's like when Ron was talking about um, Bradshaw Ranch. That's not some place that I've really been that familiar with, but it fascinates me. I think that any of these places, and I do know that people think that some of these are just blown out of proportion. But if you have a location that is consistently getting anomalous actions, you know, Skinwalker goes back, let's see, I think I was in my 30s the first time I heard about that. And a young man named Brian Skinner wrote a book about it back in the day. And he had been, for his misspent youth, he used to kind of maybe trespass there a little bit. And he had experiences. And, it was something, really something to read about all this stuff. And I never dreamed that when I became an adult and, you know, not just a mom, but a beba and, doing all these things, that this would be what I would be studying and researching and presenting to my listeners. It's just one of the things that blows my mind. And it's such a gift. I feel like it's such a gift to be able to be even on the fringes of these conferences and learning and seeing what all is out there and getting to learn from someone like Stanton Friedman, who, you know, he was my friend. And we didn't really talk about, you know, a lot, but we just kind of hung out when we got together. And I would sometimes pick his brain if I had a question about some of the stuff. I went to the Nuclear Museum in Las Vegas, and it was after he had passed. And I really wished that he were still here, because after I saw that, I had questions, because he worked there in that desert when they were developing that weaponry. And he had a lot of knowledge. He wasn't just a ufologist. He was he really was one of the best physicists, scientists that there were. And he was also, he was just a good human. So there are a lot of people that knew him a lot better than I did, that I know miss him tremendously, because he was that guy. So I miss him a lot too. And I'm just so fortunate. I'm not going to lie. I am so fortunate and so thankful that I get to do these things. And I'm appreciative of the fact that I have people like Carl in my life, and his bride, Tammy, and, my friend Denise Pridemore, who is the host of the Paranormal Pride, who's on hiatus right now. And the gentleman that y'all are going to be able to meet through the show soon, the three J's, who are going to be coming on with me separately. And I'm going to introduce y'all to the men of the Dark Realm Network. So it's really a fantastic place, because I don't know if y'all know that you can see replays on your Roku TV. So Dark Realm Network, that's us. And how cool is that, right? Because when I lost my platform, I was deplatformed by a couple of social media things, and I'm the most boring little old lady on the planet. And I got yeah, there you go. But it's just so amazing, because you don't know who. Sometimes you don't recognize who is in your corner and has your back, because for whatever reason, Denise has been one of my best friends for a long time. Carl has been a good friend, and will always be a good friend. It's just amazing how things work out, like the things that work. But anyway, I'm just going on about the weather, I reckon. But it's a big thing. It's a good thing. And I appreciate so much having the friends that I do, the people that are into the paranormal with me, that I can investigate with. And, it's so funny, because Denise is such a psychic that, you know, if you investigate with her, she's going to know everything when you get there. It's so funny. And my other friends who are, Mark Elliott Fultz, he is the best psychic I've ever come across, who does all the things that he does. And it's so, if you investigate with him, it's just because he already knows, right? It's so weird, because I will be getting something, and I will go and say, I need you to come here. He already knows. It's just like cheating, right? Too funny. But if you have any questions, or you want to know whether it's about places to stay or eat, or what conferences are the absolute best that you are kind of like must sees, or you know or if you have something that you think is the best place in the world to investigate, or the best conference you've ever been to, because I do paranormal conferences too, but they are, if I do them, then I am not as able to speak to, or I don't get to listen to the um, lectures so much because I'm there as a vendor for Fate magazine and Paranormal Experienced. But I just love learning, and especially from people that do what I do with success. I want to know how they're doing it too. So that's fun. That's fun to me. I like to learn. But I will say that the come on, brain, Gettysburg Battlefield Bash is a really good, strictly paranormal conference to go to. They support children with cancer and the Wounded Warriors. And both of those are fundraisers close to my heart. And I think that that's probably one of the best. I know where that money goes. And not all conferences are fundraisers, sometimes they're just conferences, but that one's a fundraising conference. And everybody pays their booth fee to help with that. Everybody, they'll do raffle tickets or whatever. People donate a lot of things. And, I like that they let you help them help others. I think that's a big deal because, it's just, we're a great big community and we're supposed to be able to bring our skill sets and what matters to us to help other people too. So get out there and do that. But I'm going to go. I appreciate your time so much. I hope you enjoyed them. I think that they were great guests. And if you have any questions, just hit me up. I'm on Facebook under Catherine Thompson and Fate Mag Radio, Fate Magazine Radio. And I'm on YouTube. I'm on all kinds of things. And just got questions, let me know. If you want to come on, let me know. I would love to talk to people who have some different ideas. I think that's the best thing to do. And Noreen, thank you again for letting Anthony know that I said hi. I think that he really was so cool. And I have a message now in our things chat from Jeremy York, who is one of the good guys also. And I'm going to have to go back and look at that because it got away from me too quick. But at any rate, be blessed. Thank you so much. And I will be here Wednesday and next Sunday. And then I am heading out, going up to Arkansas. I may be here the following. Got 10 days. I board my plane in 10 days. So that's plenty of time to get some chatting in here. Thanks again. Take care and good night.